and Fibonacci relationships. Most of the traders using Elliott's wave methodology are agreed upon the following rules and guidelines for effective and productive use of the Elliott's waves. The Fibonacci summation series is the basic of the wave principle. Numbers from the Fibonacci arrangement surface over and over in Elliott wave structures, including intention waves 1, 3, 5, a solitary full cycle, 8 waves, and the finished rationale, 89 waves, and restorative 55 waves designs. Elliot built up his market and model before he understood that it mirrors the Fibonacci grouping. At the point when I found the wave principle activity of market patterns, I had never known about either the Fibonacci series or the Pythagorean diagram. The Fibonacci grouping is likewise firmly associated with the golden proportion. Professionals normally utilize this proportion and related proportions to build up, help, and opposition levels for market waves. Specifically, the value focuses which help characterize the boundaries of a pattern. See Fibonacci retracement. Money teacher Roy Batchelor and specialist Richard Raymore, a previous director of the United Kingdom Society of Technical Analysts and once global head of research at Lipper and Thomson Reuters Wealth Management, examined whether Fibonacci proportions seem non-haphazardly in the financial exchange, as Elliott's model predicts. The specialist said that the thought that costs remember to a Fibonacci proportion or round portion of the past pattern plainly does not have any logical reasoning. They additionally said there is no huge distinction between the frequencies, with which costs and time proportions happen in cycles in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and frequencies which we would hope to happen aimlessly in such a period arrangement. Robert Preacher answered to the Batchelor Raymer study, saying that it doesn't change the legitimacy of any part of the wave principle. It upholds wave scholars' perceptions, and that in light of the fact that the creators had inspected proportions between costs, accomplished and separated patterns as opposed to Elliott's waves. Their strategy doesn't address genuine cases by wave scholars. The Socioeconomics Institute likewise surveyed information in the Batchelor-Raymer study and said this information show Fibonacci proportions do happen more regularly in the securities exchange that would be normal in an irregular climate. Removed from the similar connection between Elliott waves and Fibonacci proportion, a 78.6 retracement level is distinguished as the best spot for purchasing or selling in continuation to the bigger pattern, as it expands the danger to compensate proportion up to 1:3. It has been recommended that Fibonacci connections are not by any means the only silly number-based connections obvious in waves. Following Elliott's demise in 1948, other markets, specialists and monetary experts kept on utilizing the wave principle and give figures to speculators. Charles Collins, who had distributed Elliott's wave principle and acquainted Elliott's hypotheses with Wall Street, positioned Elliott's commitments to specialized examination on a level with Charles Dow. Hamilton Bolton, originator of the Bank Credit Analysts, otherwise called BCA Research Incorporated, gave wave examination to wide readership during the 1950s and 1960s through various yearly enhancements of market editorial. He additionally created the book, The Elliott Wave Principle of Stock Market Behavior. Bolton acquainted the Elliott Wave principle with A.J. Ice, 1908 to 1999, who gave week after week monetary analysis on the Financial News Network during the 1980s. Throughout his lifetime, Frost's commitments to the field was one of incredible noteworthiness, and today the Canadian Society of Technical Analysts grants the A.J. Ice Memorial Award to somebody every year that has likewise made a huge commitment to the field of specialized investigation. Robert Precher discovered Elliott's work while filling in as a market specialist at Merrill Lynch. His noticeable quality as a forecaster during the positively trending business sector of the 1980s carried wide openness to Elliott's work. Precher remains the most generally known Elliott examiner. Among market experts, wave examination is generally acknowledged as a segment of exchange. The Elliott wave principle is among the strategies remembered for the test that investigators should pass to acquire the Chartered Market Technician assignment, an expert accreditation created by the CMT Association. Robin Wilkin, ex-global head of FX and commodity technical strategy at JP Morgan Chase, says the Elliott wave principle gives a likelihood system with respect to when to enter a specific market and where to get out, regardless of whether for a benefit or a misfortune. Jordan Kotick, global head of technical strategy at Barclays Capital and past president of the Market Technicians Association, said that R.N. Elliott's disclosure was relatively revolutionary. Indeed, throughout the most recent decade or two, numerous unmistakable scholastics have grasped Elliott's thought and have been forcibly supporting the presence of monetary market fractals. Sornet expressed, one such scholastic is the physicist Didier Sornet, teacher at ETH Zurich. In a paper he co-created in 1996, Stock Market Crashes, Precursors and Replicas. It is interesting that the log occasional structures recorded here bear some closeness with the Elliott waves of specialized investigation. A ton of exertion has been created in money, both by scholastic and exchanging establishments, and all the more as of the late physicists utilizing a portion of their fractal devices created to manage complex occasions arrangement. To examine past information to get data on what's to come. The Elliott wave method is presumably the most popular in this field. We estimate that the Elliott waves, so emphatically established in the monetary investigators' fables, could be a mark of a fundamental basic structure of the securities exchange. Paul Tudor Jones, the very rich person product dealer, calls Precher and Frost's standard content on Elliott a work of art and one of the four Bibles of the business. Glenn Neely, the monetary market investigator and writer of the book Mastering Elliott Wave, contemplated the Elliott wave principle for quite a long time and utilized it to build up an estimating strategy by developing the ideas Elliott made during the 1930s. Analysts at the Technical University of Crete found that utilizing a neuro-fluffy framework dependent on the Elliott wave standard conveyed returns somewhere in the range of 9.14% and 39.5% higher than a purchase and hold technique when utilizing a theoretical 10,000 euro portfolio. Limitation of Elliott waves. However, many traders are out there who question the effectiveness and usability of the Elliott waves to predict the financial markets. If you have not ample quantity of the skill and knowledge how to use them, you may fail to take full benefit out of the waves theory. It is more subjective than to be objective. You have to learn about the subjective characteristics that play a vital role than to the objective features. Replicable form of the numbers with sound record in the most of the technical analysts requires a good and sound analysis. Robert Precher had recently expressed that thoughts in an article by Mandelbrot started with Ralph Nelson Elliot, who put them forward more completely and all the more precisely regarding genuine business sectors in his 1938 book, The Wave Principle. Pundits likewise cautioned the wave principle is too obscure to ever be valuable, since it can't reliably recognize when a wave starts or closes, and that Elliott Wave's estimates are inclined to abstract correction. Some who advocate specialized examination of business sectors have scrutinized the estimation of Elliott Wave investigation. Specialized expert David Aronson composed. The Elliott Wave principle, as predominantly rehearsed, is definitely not a genuine hypothesis, yet a story, and a convincing one that is persuasively told by Robert Precher. The record is particularly convincing in light of the fact that EWP has the apparent wonderful capacity to fit any portion of market history down to its most moment variances. I battle this is made conceivable by the strategy's inexactly characterized rules and the capacity to hypothesize countless settled influxes of shifting size. This gives the Elliott expert the very opportunity and adaptability that permitted pre-Copernican cosmologists to clarify all noticed planet developments despite the fact that the basic hypothesis of an Earth-focused universe wasn't right. The Elliott Wave principle is additionally thought by some to be too dated to possibly be material in the present business sectors, as clarified by market examiner Glenn Neely. Elliott Wave was a fantastic disclosure, for now is the ideal time. Yet as innovations, governments, economies, and social frameworks have changed, the conduct of individuals has too. These progressions have influenced the wave designs R.N.Elliot found, thusly exacting utilization of conventional Elliott wave ideas to current-day markets, slants determining precision. Markets have developed, yet Elliott has not. How to use market patterns to predict the market. It is worth mentioning that Elliott made very detailed and comprehensive market predictions on the basis of features he discovered on his wave patterns. An impulsive wave, which net goes a similar way as the bigger pattern, consistently shows 5 ways in its examples. A restorative wave, then again, net goes the other way of the primary pattern. On a more limited size, inside every one of the imprudent waves, 5 waves can again be found. This next example rehashes itself ceaselessly at ever more limited sizes. Elliott revealed this fractal structure in monetary business sectors during the 1930s, yet just many years after the fact, would researchers perceive fractals and exhibit them numerically. In the monetary business sectors, we realize that what goes up should descend, as a value development up or down is constantly trailed by an opposite development. Value activity is isolated into patterns and rectifications. patterns show the fundamental heading of costs, while redresses move against the pattern. Waves. Elliot suggested that monetary value patterns result from speculators' prevalent brain research. He found that swings in mass brain science consistently appeared in similar repeating fractal examples or waves in monetary business sectors. Elliott's hypothesis, to some degree, looks like the Dow hypothesis in that both perceive that stock costs move in waves. Since Elliot moreover perceived the fractal nature of business sectors notwithstanding, he had the option to separate and break down them in a lot more prominent detail. Fractals are numerical structures which, on an always more limited size, endlessly rehash themselves. Elliot found stock record value designs were organized similarly. He, at that point, started to take a gander at how these rehashing examples could be utilized as prescient pointers of future market moves. Basic concept of Elliott Wave Theory. View of the basic and most basic concept of the Elliott Wave Theory is as follows. Totaling a 5-to-3 move, 5 waves move in the direction of the main trend, followed by 3 waves in a correction. This 5-to-3 move becomes 2 subdivisions of the next higher wave move. The mentioned 3 to 5 pattern go constant, though the time frame of each wave may differ from the rest of the waves. We should examine the accompanying diagram comprised of 8 waves, 5 net up and 3 net down, marked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, and C. Waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 structure a drive, and waves A, B, and C structure a rectification. The 5-wave drive thusly structures wave 1 at the following biggest degree, and the 3-wave amendment structures wave 2 at the following biggest degree. The restorative wave regularly has 3 unmistakable value developments, 2 toward the principal amendment, A and C, and 1 against it, B. Waves 2 and 4 in the above pictures are revisions. These waves ordinarily have the accompanying structure. Note that in this image, waves 1 and C move toward the pattern at 1 bigger degree and hence are indiscrete and made out of 5 waves. Wave B, conversely, is counter-pattern and along these lines remedial and made out of 3 waves. A motivation wave development trailed by a restorative wave shapes an Elliott wave degree comprising of patterns and counter trends. As should be obvious from the examples presented over, 5 waves don't generally travel net upward, and 3 waves don't generally travel net descending. At the point when the bigger degree pattern is down, for example, so is the 5-wave arrangement. Since Elliott waves are a fractal, wave degrees hypothetically extend ever bigger and ever more modest past those recorded previously. To utilize the hypothesis in ordinary exchanging a merchant by recognize an upward moving motivation wave. Go long and afterward sell or short the situation as the example finishes 5 waves and an inversion is approaching. Okay, so that is it for now.